Every ancient structure and modern masterpiece reflects the dreams of visionary people, the engineers and architects who realized the impossible. As in the case of Amsterdam Old Town, the historic city center was largely built in the 17th century and is today one of the largest historic centers in Europe. Amsterdam is surrounded by water and is therefore also known as the Venice of the North. Everyone, this is Scott Brown. Today I have two very important guests in the world of architecture and engineering. Architect Emily Robin and engineer Edith Clark. Thanks for being here, guys. They're going to teach us a little more about the foundations of Amsterdam Old Town. Okay, let's start with you, Emily. Why does Amsterdam rest on wooden pipes?
The muddy soil of the Netherlands forces the local builders to build their houses on stilts, often on concrete in modern times, but before that of wood. Thousands of years ago, very few people lived in the Netherlands, simply because it was too soggy and wet here. The old center of Amsterdam rests on about 11 million piles. Wooden piles are used as biseable or hidden structures, common as foundation for building tanks, bridges, pipelines, wallways, jetties, etc. These piles are mainly used to direct or indirect transmit the load to the ground, reaching a firm, and direct or indirect transmit the load to the ground, reaching deeper, and also to compile the soil, improving its bearing capacity, and raise the vertical and lateral loads that support and transmit.
That's right, Emily. In fact, the soils of Netherlands consist mainly of an organic sludge composed of plants' roots and other plant debris left behind by the former peat bogs. Beneath and between the thin layers of peat, there are also solid layers of clay and sand. The clay layers are mostly deposited by rivers, sand layers in many cases by the sea. A peat layer is soft and collapses easily under pressure and is perhaps better compared to a sponge soaked in water. When pressure is applied to a sponge filled with water, the water is squeezed out and its volume decreases. For this reason, medieval buildings gradually sank into the pit, thanks to the greater flexible main wooden construction of the building and the use of mortar and masonry. The sinking process of a structure often took place with too many cracks.
Wow, this is really interesting. And I have a question. If the flexibility of wood allows the buildings to move without cracks, I guess nowadays the construction techniques are less flexible. So, what are the considerations with the concrete foundations?
This means that a building that sinks locally will almost always crack. It is ideal when a building can be placed on a solid hard surface, a surface that does not settle, a surface on which heavy buildings can be placed that will not sink due to the properties of that surface. Naturally, rock soil lends itself well to this, but sandy soils also often provide a suitable base for a structure.
In Amsterdam, we find the first layer of sand and the depth of 14 meters, but this is not thick enough. So today, most concrete piles installed in Amsterdam have the second layer of sand, which is a depth of about 20 to 25 meters. However, in several places in and around Amsterdam, even the second sand layer has been damaged by geological effects, forcing the foundation above the third sand layer to a depth of 60 meters.
Architectural icon in Amsterdam is the Royal Palace, and there are no fewer than 13,657 stacks beneath the massive structure. Then considered a wonder of the world, even this construction has collapsed considerably over the years in places. During a renovation in 1945, additional pillars were placed. Since then, the building has been raised on another 50 stilts. Having this example in mind, I would like to conclude with this question. What is the treatment of buildings with timber foundation in Amsterdam?
The Amsterdam town has signed a framework agreement with CEG for the development of a method to better understand the structural condition of timber underbridge and quay walls in Amsterdam. Some timber pile foundations are more than 500 years old.
Little is currently known about the bearing capacity and condition of timber piles foundation in the municipality of Amsterdam, but it is important to be able to make statements about their actual strength to avoid timber piles foundation being rejected in Europe.
Well, I think we have come to the end of the interview. Emily, Edith, it was nice talking to you. Let's go to a commercial break. This is
Dreaming!